I think most of my life I've always been all or nothing. And if I'm not doing it all, I'm not doing any of it. So finding balance, but also being able to set that floor for like what is the bare minimum, that those are my non-negotiables and those have to happen. Welcome back to the Illuminated Path. This is episode 83. What are we talking about today?
So last week we did an episode on ways to really figure out like if you're feeling out of alignment, and today's episode is about what you can do to really help yourself get back into alignment, to feel better, like routines that you can implement and things to actually really help you change your life.
Yeah. Let's not go ahead into how's the week because it's been 30 seconds for us. So
Yes, but I just want to say when this comes out, I'm one day away from being in my third trimester, and
yeah,
that's just crazy. Okay, we
it's
can get
flying by.
started. So we recently took a look at our schedules and like our routines, and really the main thing that I feel like is like what I want to tell people is look at things in terms of like what are priority, and make sure that you're doing these things to feel your best, to feel, productive, to feel your best personally, physically, mentally, emotionally. And what does that mean for you? Like, what do you need to make time for to make sure that that's happening?
Yeah.
So, the very first thing that we did, well, actually, I did most of it, but I made I made a huge like brain dump of everything. And I was like, these are the things that have to happen every day.
Yep.
And these are the things that have to happen every week. And then I think I had a couple of things that were like, these have to happen, I don't know, in a month or whatever it
Right.
was. But the majority of it was like daily and weekly. And where do we fit all these things in our schedules?
Yeah. And it was also like a lot of like, what are the non negotiables of like what must occur?
Right. And something that we've talked about a lot, and I think mentioned on this podcast before too, is like figuring out what is like your floor and ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Yeah. So, you're going to create this like routine or schedule maybe, and like what we did, and it's your ideal, right? But if you can't get to everything, it's important to note that like everything that you figured out, like that big brain dump of everything is your ideal. But what is the floor?
Mm-hmm.
You can't just like scratch all of it and do nothing. But what can you do within the time that you have, or within like the capacity that you have, like the energy you have, or like the mental capacity that you have?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's having that is a big help because I think most of my life I've always been all or nothing. And if I'm not doing it all, I'm not doing any of it. So finding balance, but also being able to set that floor for like what is the bare minimum, that those are my non-negotiables and those have to happen.
Yeah.
That's been super helpful.
Yeah. So the way I was going to do this was just kind of talk through like our own priorities,
Yeah.
I guess. I
Go
mean,
for
there's a
it.
lot of overlap,
Yeah.
but I just kind of wrote in like those schedules, routines that we made for ourselves, because there are things that overlap and there are things that don't. So for me, when I wake up, I eat right away. I'm
Mm-hmm.
always trying to have a breakfast that is focused on protein, starting my day with protein. Oftentimes it's like eggs and sausage, maybe avocado toast. But I'm always having protein. Or recently I've been having some really good smoothies with protein.
Mm.
Um,
But I think a protein focused breakfast is so important. Like even I mean, I'm now trying to like skip breakfast, right? And fast through it. But I think like the big shift for me through the day and managing my calories and my food was a protein focused breakfast. I didn't understand for a long time that when you spike your glucose first thing in the morning, you are bringing in a host of issues, lack of attention, brain fog, all kinds of stuff. That's why like I get annoyed every time I see these health food brands that are like, well, just have a bunch of oats first thing in the morning, which have some of the highest glycemic index. They're awful to have in the morning. But when you have protein for breakfast, you're satiated, you're focused, you're ready to go through the day. And I would usually be eating like another hour or 2 after breakfast. I don't do that when I have a protein breakfast.
Right.
So, protein first thing in the morning, super helpful, super important.
Yeah. So I always eat first, then I get some form of exercise in. And 3 days a week I go to the gym with my best friend. So that's wonderful. There's accountability there. It's great and I love it. And I've been super consistent with that throughout my whole pregnancy and before.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. Then I was getting a little lazy on like getting some form of exercise in on the days that I wasn't going to the gym with her. Besides my days where I go to my prenatal yoga. So now I'm trying to like make sure that on those other days, I still do something at home. Likely, it's probably going to be more yoga because I'm like super sore on my hips and whatever. And so I need to just keep stretching, but I need to get some sort of movement in and like early in the morning because it affects the way I feel
Yeah.
for the rest of the day. Um, Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze.
That's okay.
um,
I'm not gonna cut that.
it's fine. It's fine. Now next I put like get ready. So John and I were both being really bad about like showering in the morning
Mm,
and we would put it off all day and then we would shower at night. And then it's like,
we hated it.
yeah, by the end of the day you're so tired and then it's like you have to take time to shower. Then you feel like you don't have any time
Yeah.
to your night before bed and you just don't feel great when you don't shower in the morning. So,
No, especially for me, like I was on the charts, like because I was waking up and just going to sit on the charts, and that was terrible.
yeah.
So,
So I put in like my schedule, like we literally did our calendars and like blocked out like chunks of time. And I put get ready. For me, that's like I'm showering, I'm, doing my hair, I'm doing a little gua sha on my face. Sometimes I'm able to add in red light therapy and making sure I'm doing it in the morning because I'm getting ready and I'm setting myself up to like feel better throughout my day.
yeah,
Then I have time to, work on the business, just do anything related to like working on things, get on my computer. And I just have like a block of time to be doing that, as well as doing house things like laundry or I don't know, I feel like I'm needing to call this company or that company on a credit card or scheduling this or that or whatever, looking up things with insurance. So just like time to like be kind of productive, I guess.
yeah,
Then I have taking a family walk with the dogs. Actually, in there right before that usually is like lunch. So making time to have some sort of lunch, usually like a quicker lunch, but still something that like we're making at home. And then this is where we kind of like meet up again and then can like go on a walk with our dogs.
yeah.
And we're intentionally setting this time to get outside for ourselves.
That's like family exercise time.
Yeah. And our dogs. They need a
Mm-hmm.
walk.
Yeah,
And then after that, this time frame, after walking our dogs kind of varies from day to day, depending on what we need to do. Like some days we have time in there to record our podcast. Sometimes we have time to edit the podcast or, running errands or whatever it is that we need to do based on our needs and our priorities. So that's kind of open ended and not necessarily like a routine. But then I have time to cook dinner. Like we literally scheduled out like I need around 45 minutes to cook because we want to eat most of our meals at home.
yeah.
And you have to find the time in your schedule in order to do that.
Well, also, we go ahead because I'm getting to your next point.
Oh, we eat dinner together.
Yeah, so I think that's really important because when we started dating, like you told me, this is a non-negotiable. Like for dinner, you sit down with me and we're present.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's really important. I think that adds a lot to our relationship. But that does require more time. So we're usually, you're cooking dinner. I'm usually feeding the dogs, getting the table ready, and doing all that. And then we eat together. You do the dishes, and I clean up everything else, put away leftovers, and do all that, or the dishwasher, whatever it is. So I think we have a really good give and take, but we needed to block out that time.
Yeah. Because then otherwise it's stressful and then it's like, "Oh gosh, it's 5:30, we haven't eaten yet, and let's order takeout."
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we didn't want to do, and that's why it's important to be able to, like, put this in as a routine of some sort, as something that you are scheduling time for in order to be able to, like, prioritize eating together and eating, like, home-cooked meals.
Yeah.
Next in here, I have time for doing my pelvic floor therapy and stretches, and that's something that is, like, not a forever thing, but something that we very much needed to take time to do because, again,
Yeah.
I'm just feeling all sorts of soreness from pregnancy, and I'm also in pelvic floor therapy, and there's a lot of things that, um, my doctor has given to me to do, and I want to keep up with these things to make my labor and delivery and recovery easier.
Yep.
So we were like kind of rushing to do them at the end of the night or like forgetting to do them, and then that wasn't feeling good. So we were like, okay, this is a priority. When can we do this? And now we again set time aside for it. And then at the end of the night, we realized we do enjoy like watching a show together. So we did set time aside in our schedule for that. And it's like 30 to 40 minutes max.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever show we pick, it's either like two short episodes or one episode, and that's it.
I'm
And
a
then,
big game show guy.
and then
Traders, The Mole. I don't
the
know.
mole was like so long ago.
I
We
might
just
have to watch Survivor. Deal or No Deal Island was, what do the kids say? It's slapped.
where you come up with this stuff.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, we make time to watch a show together, and it's nice because we're not sitting there binging it,
Yep.
but we are still like getting that time, and then it feels good because it's like, okay, I watched an episode or two, cool. Now I'm like satisfied.
Yeah.
And then we, go to bed like at the same time together. Well, you usually read, and I rub your back, so you're welcome for that. All right, you can
Yeah.
share.
That was in your vows.
I know
Just
it
want you
was.
to know that. You
Yep.
did vow to rub my back.
As long as I'm still awake, which
Yep.
sometimes I'm not awake for long.
Sometimes it's you fall asleep 15 seconds after you start.
Can't help it.
Okay, so for me, my new schedule day starts with exercise. That was my biggest challenge was I wasn't exercising and then I was just constantly throughout the day trying to find a time to get it in. And then if I wasn't getting it in, it was like I was exercising when we had time to go walk the dogs. So it was just really getting in the way of everything. I also really like the philosophy of do the hardest thing first.
Yeah, I mean, people talk a lot about like getting their exercise in first.
I think it helps me tremendously to feel like I put in that hard work, especially before I go sit down on the charts. And it gives me that confidence and that the endorphins to be excited for the day and what might happen on the charts that day.
Hmm.
After that, I got in the sauna. Love it. Very fortunate, very grateful. We have a sauna at our house and it is wonderful.
Hmm. Can't use it right now. I miss it a lot. It's been literally since early October that I've been in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay. Soon
So
enough.
I get in the sauna, then I shower, and then I trade. Trading is now we have it blocked in. So I've traded a lot of different strategies. I've traded 9 to 11, I've traded 9 to 12. Now I'm at 9 to 2 because I have so many different strategies, but a big part of that now is like consolidating, figuring out, what are the best times, what are the best strategies to trade in those times. And there's flexibility with it. If I have a good few trades and I'm up, I can walk. Um, we take a walk with the dogs and eat dinner together. And, we do her pelvic floor therapy and stretches, and then we watch a show together. So the evening is really when we come back together. And then we have that family time, dinner time with the dogs. We're, making sure that you're as comfortable as you can be with the baby. And then we have that time together at night.
Yeah. So for you, I feel like, um, like you were saying, like the exercise was such an important part. And like you were saying, in the last episode with like not eating well and then you don't exercise and all of that, like just making this one shift and getting your exercise done first like sets you up for success for so many things.
Yeah, and I will say too, a big goal of mine was to do more fasted workouts, and I never actually like got to that point. So now I'm doing that, um, and I typically have followed a 16-8 fasting schedule. I'm now trying to get that more to 18 and 6. Uh, and so it just works out very nicely. I'm fasted, I'm getting a nice fasted workout in, exercising first thing. I get in the sauna, cleaned up and ready, and I'm on the charts for trading. And it's not like I've rolled out of bed and I'm in sweats sitting on the computer now.
Um, yeah, and then like when you weren't getting ready before, you would not feel the best. You know, you're done trading, and then you're like, "Ew,
Yeah.
I just rolled out of bed. I don't, I
Felt
don't smell
gross.
good," or like
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. So, do you have any other thoughts on all of this?
No, I think, hopefully that helps someone kind of organize their schedule. There's a lot of strategies and philosophies behind making your schedule about, what makes sense for you. What we found personally works the best for us is having buffers in between each thing because obviously life happens and there's things in between. Um, we were always off schedule when it was like next minute we're doing this.
Mhm.
So I really like what we're doing now. And I think it helps tremendously to give yourself that framework, but also give yourself the grace and freedom to be human and allow life to happen.
Yeah, and I think most importantly, like we have our priorities in here of like just the basics, like your food, your exercise, time together, sleep.
Yeah.
Like those are kind
Yeah.
of like your basics, and we made sure that we figured out those.
I mean, sleep is in our calendar,
Yeah.
it's in our schedule. And I think that
Yeah, set yourself a bedtime, guys.
for real.
I mean, gosh, when I was younger, all I ever wanted to do was like stay up later, and now I'm like, no, get to bed earlier. Like
Yeah.
it's just you need your sleep. So set yourself a bedtime and like stick to a consistent schedule because that's number 1 for like setting up your whole day.
Especially learning about sleep deficits. Like if you miss sleep one night, it's not like, oh, I'll get a full night tonight. No, you're in a deficit. Like you got to make up that sleep. So,
Yeah.
I think it's really important. Like put your sleep in there. We have our show that's before bed, and then we blocked out like 9 hours. So we give ourselves an hour to fall asleep, and in that hour, that's usually like when I read and um, get my back rubbed.
Yeah, but I mean, just figure out like what is important to you, do like a brain dump and then schedule things. Like
Yeah.
whatever it is, if you need to do a piece of paper, a planner with like a time slot thing on it. We use our Outlook calendars.
And you can work it
Um,
backwards too. So, like for me, I knew that with the testing and things I have to do with trading, for the time being, I want it to be 9 to 2. So then we worked backwards and said, like, okay, I need to do pre-market review and things. So like I got to be on my computer at 8:45. Well, I need to be getting ready. So that's takes me 8:15 to 8:45. And then it was, okay, I want to get in the sauna. So I got to be in the sauna by 7:55. So I like worked backward and then I figured out what time do I need to wake up. And then I set my bedtime.
yeah.
So there's a ton of ways to do it, ton of schools of thought, but bottom line, do it.
Yeah. Bottom line is that like having some form of routine and schedule and making sure you're getting the important things in your day will change your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else?
And that's all I got.
All right. Get your schedules done and set your bedtime. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.